What up?
What's going on?
Dude, got a crazy story for you.
Yeah, you have a crazy story. It's nice for you both to fucking join me today. I had to cut it like a half-hour show yesterday.
Hey, that's
And
life,
Jason,
man.
okay, Jason, you dick. You're going in and out, and you're pissing me off. I will kick you and put you in timeout.
Am I back?
All right, I'm gonna put you in timeout.
It's just a little glitchy. It's probably the weather.
There we go. There
you go.
You do that again, I'm gonna put you in timeout, motherfucker.
I deserve it.
You do. Look at you. You're just sitting there all lazy like a piece of shit.
Dude, so I joined
you
the
don't
original
give
I
two
joined
fucks
the
in the
original
world.
link that you told me would always work, and no one was in there. So not gonna lie, I fucking laid down to take a nap and then you called me. So here I am.
Wow, you're a lazy piece of shit.
Yeah, I know.
It's all good.
Dan, you want to start the show off with your story, or you want to hit the video and then your story?
Go ahead and let's get the show on the road, and then I had an entertaining story to share with you guys.
All right.
Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Yeah, so my father-in-law, which they're snowbirds, they go down to Florida for half the year. He's about to retire in like a week or two. So he was just securing a little volunteer job to do to keep him busy, and he volunteered to do security at a hospital. And he's mainly setting it up for when they return back to Florida in the fall, because they're getting ready to come up here for the season. And today was his first day there. And as you guys are familiar, you already know the type of shit that happens at a hospital. But I don't know if you saw the news in Sebring, Florida today.
No.
Yeah, so my father-in-law was there doing like security, and they had an adult male who was like high on something, and they had to restrain him, and he was way out of it. And apparently his dad was there too, his 66-year-old dad. And apparently the dude was not calming down, and they were dealing with the patient for the majority of the morning. And then his dad ended up getting frustrated with the services that his kid was receiving.
Okay.
And he ended up pulling out a fucking gun.
Oh,
like, yeah.
Figures.
So like my father-in-law is in the room, and all of a sudden dude pulls out a gun, and he ends up killing his son and then blowing his head off.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like, yeah, a fucking unpaid volunteer in the hospital, just, trying to have a gravy retirement job, about got fucking shot today, which is pretty nuts. I was just reading the article.
I can't say I'm surprised.
I mean, I know the story started off, I guess you'd say strong, but it just went completely fucking left turn right there.
No, same here, man. Like when my wife called me and told me, I was like, oh fuck. I was like, this sounds like a nightmare. And then when she told me the ending, I was like, probably, that's probably the ending, the more ideal.
I just don't get how you go from, you guys aren't fucking treating my son here in an efficient manner, to I'm just gonna fucking blast him and then fucking kill myself. Like,
yeah,
how the fuck is that the solution?
Well, it said that he fired 3 additional rounds into the wall. I think he was trying to just get people to get away. But
okay.
I'm just grateful that he, didn't try like killing people.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, apparently my father-in-law just hit the deck and got the hell out of there. And luckily, it was ended quickly. But an active shooter in the hospital, it could have been way worse.
Yeah,
that's fucked up, man.
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to chat with him yet, but I'm curious if he intends on going back there or not. I probably would be like, nah, I think I'm gonna pick a different retirement gig. Like for day one, getting a feel for the type of shit I'm gonna be dealing with.
Well, I mean,
I
after
think I'm
that,
gonna
at least
pass.
it's only going to be uphill for him going forward. You
Yeah.
know, hopefully.
But yeah, sounded like a pretty intense Florida day.
And speaking of that, we're going back to Florida for the night.
Yeah, Sebring, Florida, I believe, is where the hospital was. So I don't think that's too terribly far from where our guest is. So curious if maybe he saw it on the news today. But
Isn't there something special in Orlando?
I think there's a theme park down there.
Yeah, Disney is down there.
That's the one I went to as a kid. I turned into a giant ketchup fucking bottle.
Last year.
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Yeah, last year
You
we
still
went
are a
down
kid.
there.
Wow, fuck you guys. You know what? I don't even want to.
I'm just glad that I have all boys, and luckily they're not really hardcore into Disney, because that's one of those vacations that I feel like parents get suckered into, just overpaying a crazy amount of money.
Yeah. I mean, I have a daughter, and right now she's just stuck on Frozen. I swear, the other weekend,
You
I
should take
watched
her there
Frozen.
then.
Huh?
You should take her there.
Oh, I will eventually. Not right now because she's too young to like kind of grasp a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
But I watched Frozen like 50 times in like 2 days. Frozen 1 and Frozen 2. So I can sing all the songs word for fucking word at this point.
That's normal, man. If you got a girl.
Yeah. I do like the second movie, and I like the songs better on the second movie. So that's just me.
Sounds bad, man.
That
the
Unknown
second movie is never the good one.
I know, but and it was weird. And the song Unknown in it, oh man, that is my fucking jam, man. Into the unknown. I can't sing, so I'm not going to attempt it.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm going to treat everybody with that. But enough about me and my Frozen knowledge.
Yeah, and your shitty musical taste.
Yep.
So, like, just curious, Brett. Like, when you go to the gym, or if you're getting ready to go do like a day out on the farm, like checking cameras and hanging tree stands, like, what music, like, what are you listening to? I'm just curious.
Rihanna.
So, pop music?
Figures.
Rihanna is my jam.
Figures.
I'm just kidding. No, I like that rock and roll shit, man.
Rock and roll?
5 Finger Death Punch. That's my type of.
Okay.
I like that music. And country music. Yeah, I like that. But
okay.
5 Finger Death Punch. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. Just because you really liked that soundtrack, I was just wondering if maybe you were into, like, I don't know.
Oh, Unknown is my theme song, though. I'm making that my own personal theme song.
Hell yeah.
Because I'm going out in the woods. I'm going out in the unknown. So, yeah, that is my jam of theme song.
That's your 2024 theme song?
Yeah, so
for your
both
hunting
you
season?
fuck off right there, okay?
Okay.
Our
Get
poor
some tasty
guest
music.
having to listen to you ramble about Frozen, man. If I had the ability to bring him in, I've done it by now.
I think we should bring our guests in and stop talking about my musical taste.
Before he leaves and we don't realize it.
Alrighty, well, let's bring in our
go.
guest and let's do some Florida talk.
I like the little laugh track there. It's nice.
No, thank you.
Hell yeah. How you doing, Wyatt?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, we're doing good. Just
Seemed
curious, man. Did you hear about that Florida shooter? How far away is Sebring from you?
It's like two hours roughly.
Okay.
Maybe like an hour and a half if you're like going from the city, like from Orlando, like actually Orlando. But yeah, I didn't hear about it honestly.
That's
Here's
probably just another Florida man
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a kind of a true thing. I don't know if it's something in the water, something in the air, but the heat, maybe the humidity, but it'll get you, I guess. I don't think I would shoot up a hospital, but that's just kind of the stuff that goes on, I guess, down here.
That's the way the world's going these days, it seems like.
That's a fact.
Oh yeah, shit like that jumps off here in Kalamazoo all the time too.
Like every minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fair bit of the time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a comment. Wyatt, can you give a little bio about yourself before we get started? Because we've kind of been tending to do that lately on our shows. Thanks, Dan, for that. So let's start off in the correct way.
Well, my name's Wyatt. Grew up in Orlando. Still live in Orlando. Played basketball at Florida State. That's where I started Hang Free with my brother. Hang Free, we manufacture and sell hunting equipment, and then that's pretty succinct. Kind of wrap up of my story. So here we are.
You've been hunting your whole life, or did you get into it like more recently, or?
Yeah. Honestly, it was hunting was here and there. Like when I was a kid, fishing was king. Pretty much everybody down here, I mean, like if you don't grow up fishing, like it's an anomaly. Like everybody fishes. So I pretty much was born with a pole in my hand, and same with my brother. And the hunting was a couple times a year, maybe here and there. We would shoot bows in like the backyard, but for the most part, it was fishing. And then when we got to college, got a little bit older, then we really started hitting hunting hard. And I still love fishing. I mean, you go 5 minutes in any direction down here, you're gonna hit a lake. So it's kind of hard not to like it, but obviously, like hunting is our business, so we're kind of in that industry quite a bit more.
Hell yeah! I think you guys are coming to Kalamazoo this summer, right? For one of your expos?
We did last year. I don't know if we are this year. We kind of got to structure the shows pretty tight. I know the Mobile Hunters Expo will be there. I'm not positive if we're going to be there. I know we're going to be at the Georgia show. We'll be in Massachusetts this year for sure, but I'm not positive about Kalamazoo. It just really depends on if the dates line up. But last year we had a great time. We'd love to be back up there if it does.
It's a cool city. It has its ups and downs. All three of us used to work in the city, so that was probably one of its best
next door, right next door to where the
expo center is.
Yeah, the one where you were at last year. There's a jail like right next to it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, y'all worked right there?
Yeah. So like we worked. I worked inside the jail. These two were actually out doing patrol and stuff too. He was a city guy, so kind of the enemy, right. Deputies and the city guys don't really get along, but we tolerate him.
We all hated him, and like Dan said, we kind of we felt bad for him because of how much everyone hated him. So we kind of just took him under our wing and like, it's okay.
I liked him.
Someone will treat you decently.
And every time he'd bring somebody in, I'd have to pass him the trash can so he could spit
big old fucking big old lip in my mouth. Who the hell was it? That I was like, hey man, I'm out. I gotta run. I need
I was just about to say that story. So I real quick, a little side note story to this. He comes in, okay? He goes, hey Brett. Man, I just ran out of a dip. Do you have some?
But it wasn't you. It was
it wasn't me because I remember.
No, it was Myers. It was Myers.
I could have swore it was me, but anyways, there was at one point you did as well. He comes in, he's like, "Hey Brett, you got a dip? Yep, brand new one." Unseals it, opens it up, and takes out half the can.
Yeah.
I was like,
he tossed in an absolute hog leg and just
horseshoe, buddy.
Just left 5 seconds later.
He leaves and I'm motherfucking him the entire like 20 to 30 minutes of like, this motherfucker, I'm nice trying to give him a dip and he takes my whole brand new can.
Well, just talking about it, man, I quit a couple of years ago, but
Oh, sorry, man.
Watching all y'all do it's tough for sure.
I've actually been doing pretty well in quitting. I've been mainly dipping like the that Smoky Mountain wintergreen herbal snuff. That's what I've mainly been dipping. I threw one dip in, maybe a handful of dips in since January 2nd from now. So I'm actually pretty proud of myself on that.
Yeah, the Black Buffalo is pretty good.
I tried it, but it just every time I put it in, it just felt flaky. It just like I didn't really like it that much.
Yeah, taste wise, I'd say it's one of the closest, but consistency sucks.
Yeah,
Pouches is fine, but pouches suck. So
yeah, that's true.
That's what I usually do, just because they're easier.
Yeah, oh, they're easier for sure, but they still suck.
Yeah. It's nice in the jail setting. If something pops off real quick, you can easily just take it and throw it out. So you have a whole bunch
I think that's why I kind of got comfortable with them, because I always had that possibility of having to pull them out real quick.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have shit in my teeth. Unless one of the bag ruptures, and then you still have a bunch of little tiny fine cut all over.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. I can't believe we haven't even asked the question yet. Or a couple of questions. Florida State. What year? First off, what year did you graduate from there?
2020.
2020. What?
Actually, it might have been 2021. Now that I think about it.
First off,
understandable to get confused, because that was a weird time to graduate.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Florida State not getting in the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, that's life, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, did they probably deserve it? Not probably. Did they deserve it? Yeah, I thought so. But, you know, I think any time where a governing body stands to make an exorbitant amount of money, they're going to make the choice that makes them, in their opinion, the most money.
Yeah, the most views.
Yeah. So if they think that it's close, they're going to go with who they think is going to make them the most money.
Money.
You know, do I think that's right? Not really, but you know, that's just how it goes in life. You know, you got to bounce back. So I think Norvell is gonna bring him back this year. I don't know who the QB is going to be. I haven't kept up, but you know,
DJ Ugalele.
Oh, they got him. I didn't even know that. I mean, you probably know just from my communication skills. I'm all over the place right now, but funny story about Norvell. Actually, not even fun. It's not a funny story, but it's just a story. But when he first got hired, I was in the FIG, which is like a athlete dining hall, and like near the stadium. And I was walking through. And I saw him kind of milling around, and didn't really think anything of it. Just kept going because, you know, coaches will come in there and eat sometimes, whatever. And we made eye contact. He walked right up and he said, "Wyatt, nice to meet you. I'm Mike Norvell." And everyone I talked to, everybody said that he did the same thing to them: administrators, professors, custodians, the guy who takes pictures for the teams, the trainers. So he must have sat there for weeks and memorized names and faces. Like, he had to. I don't know how else he would do it. And then about a week later, there's like a coffee bar, like in that same place. I was going to get coffee, and most of the time, like, coaches don't like waiting because most of them are on a really tight schedule. So they'll kind of just skip the line, or they'll go get their food. Like, they'll skip the line to get food, and they'll go get food or whatever. And I was sitting there and I was getting coffee. And I looked back and he's behind me and he's just waiting. And I was like, "Oh yeah, you can go." And he was like, No, you're good. You're fine. And like, that seems like a little thing, but like, in that setting, like, that's actually a really big thing. Like, the fact that he's willing to just wait his turn, even though he has the least amount of time of anyone in the entire that works at Florida State, like that says a lot to me, at least, that he's willing. It's a humble type of person that he is. So I'm a big fan of his. I think that he's definitely gonna. He's already turned the program around, obviously, but I think he's gonna keep him there. It's one thing to get there; it's another thing to stay there. I think he's gonna stay.
Yeah, I've liked I liked Norvell. I've personal feelings towards Florida State. I've never been a big fan of them. I can't stand that fucking chant. I just want to. Every time I hear it, I turn the TV on mute. I swear. But I've always liked Norvell since when he was at Memphis. I liked what he was doing down there, and just listening to him talk, I've always been a fan of Norvell himself. And I was cool to see him get his team where he was last year. Do I feel like they deserve to be in there? Fuck yeah. I feel like they would have been the national champions, in my opinion, instead of Michigan.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
That's my opinion. In my opinion, it should have been, because Florida State was undefeated. It should have been, who was number one? I can't remember now. It was Michigan, and then Washington, and then it should have been Florida State, and then Texas. Because Texas beat Alabama. I don't give two shits if Alabama won the SEC. The only reason they did it, anyways, it would have been how I had it laid out: Michigan versus Texas, Washington versus Florida State. I had Michigan beating Texas, and Florida State beating Washington, and Florida State beating Michigan for the title.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Maybe I know you guys are some Michigan boys, but
I don't really.
I can't stand Michigan. I fucking hate Michigan. Oregon, the Oregon Ducks is my favorite.
He's an Oregon Duck guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up with a kid who's a fan of Boise State for some unknown reason. So,
well, I feel like Boise State was kind of popular there for a minute.
Maybe
I remember when we were kids, they were when they had Kellen Moore as the quarterback.
That's no good reason to like Boise State when you live in Florida.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people was hopping on that Boise State bandwagon because of their stadium.
That blue field and beating Oklahoma.
Yeah. So real quick, man, how was your experience of being a D1 athlete, playing ball at a big school like Florida State?
It's a job. Like when you first get there, you think you're still playing basketball or you're still playing football or baseball or whatever it is, and then by the time you leave, you realize you're working basically. Like after a few years, you realize like okay, like there's a whole lot of money like that's being made. When I was there, I wasn't making it, but everybody else was making it. But if you don't treat it like a job, you won't be successful. Like that's just the reality of it. Like if you're not waking up at my entire life was revolved around basketball. Like that's all it was. Like I did school because I had to, but like even if it wasn't absolutely mandatory, I just wouldn't do it because so much time and effort is put into the sport that you barely have time to function outside of that. I mean, it was during the season, during the non-conference schedule. I mean, 10 hours a day probably. During the conference schedule, it's 14 to 16 probably. It's just all day. You're doing something basketball related, whether that's stretching or watching film or getting treatment in the training room or, I mean, even eating. Like if you're not just constantly eating, then you're just going to drop weight like crazy. Like guys would lose 30 pounds in training camp because you're running 10, 13, 15 miles a day. Like, and it's all sprinting. So you're going to drop a ton of weight and you can't. So then you got to eat and you got to eat like, 8,000-9,000 calories a day to keep it. That's a job in itself. So it's all just work. You know what I mean? The only fun thing about playing college sports is winning. Like that is the only fun thing. Like it's not, but practice sucks. The games suck. Like the games are terrible. Like they're awful. Winning is the only fun thing. We did a lot of winning when I was there, like a lot, which was fantastic. That was the only thing that kept me playing. Like before the show, we were talking, like I broke my back. I've torn both my labrums. I screwed my ankle. Like if physically, like I knew pretty early on, like I just was never going to be the player that I could have been if I had stayed stayed healthy pretty much. But like we were good and I could still contribute. So it was like, okay, like let's keep it going. But like if we sucked, like I would have retired like after probably my sophomore year. Like winning is fun. Everything else is, it's a job.
Because I don't want to stay on this subject for too long. I brought you on here to talk about hunting, but it's kind of like a question into two. What was it like? What was your schedule like throughout kind of like a year type of deal? And what was it like to travel long distances?
Like day-to-day schedule, like if we're talking like season, it would be I was taking like I'll go through like one like my like senior year, be like wake up, just depending on like what the day before was would kind of determine when I woke up. That could be 7 o'clock, that could be 9 o'clock, that could be 10 some days. Most of the time, just call it 9, wake up, eat, stretch for like an hour ish. And then either take like a class, like online class, or like go to a class. And then from there, hit the gym, get some shots up, get some treatment, lift. So we're talking like, maybe I'm done with that probably like 2-ish, eat again. From there, probably I would eat at the facility, and then from there I go into my like pre-practice routine. So usually like hour and a half before practice, start that, which is more stretching, full like kind of skills workout. Get into practice, where we go straight to film. Watch it, depending on if we won or not, will kind of depend on how long the film is. That could be 30 minutes of film. That could be 4 hours of film. It just depends. But generally speaking, when practice starts, you kind of say goodbye to the sun. That's what we used to say. We saw a wave at the sun because we weren't going to see it, because by the time we got out, it'd be dark. So, start practice, get done at, roughly, let's call it 7:30, 8. And then more treatment, eat, stretch, home, bed. That would be my day, pretty much. And then in terms of traveling, that you don't really think about it, honestly. Like you get used to it. Like we flew private, so it was pretty much, if we were traveling, get out of practice, get on the bus, get off the bus, onto the plane, off the plane, on the bus, on the bus, off the bus, hotel. Like that was all it was. Game. Same routine to get back. Like it's pretty much, they got it to the point. They got it at the point where it's just bang, 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 bang. Like there's no like downtime necessarily. You just pretty much go.
Yeah. What are your thoughts though, real quick, of the new conference alignment of having to travel now, like all the way out to Stanford and Cal? How do you think players are going to be having to deal with traveling that far on almost a regular basis?
Yeah, it's really the scheduling is really gonna matter with that. If you got 2-3 days off before, which doesn't happen a ton, but if you schedule that where you have 3-4 days in between games, then most guys will be all right. It might be tougher on the younger guys. Like if you got a young team, that might be really hard on them. If you got an older team, it'll be a lot easier. They're kind of used to the grind, as it goes. But if you're playing we used to call them college back-to-backs, where it's a game a day and then a game. So it's not like the next night, but it's a day in between. If you're playing a college back-to-back, it's gonna be tough. Like that'll be hard. At the end of the day, being on a plane for 4 or 5 hours is never great on the body. And then everyone's injured in some capacity. So at pressure, at altitude, like your ankles are going to swell, your knees are going to swell, like, and you're there for more than an hour or two. Like it's you're going to have to recover from that, let alone just already having a rolled ankle or whatever.
Right. Does anyone have any last questions for Wyatt about this topic of collegiate?
I mean, we might as well just do a nightly tour of what it's like to be at FSU at this point. We're already half hour in.
Well, I was just curious, one thing real quick, kind of on the college topic a little bit. Just with you diving into the the overall commitment that comes with being a D1 athlete, how does that compare to being a business owner? Like in terms of how demanding it is?
It's a good question. I would say mentally, it's tougher running a company for sure. Physically, I can do anything, honestly. Like there's no physical point that you can push me to that I like will break me. Like there's just not. Like I've done it all. Like if you're talking about running or lifting or doing whatever, like I'll just keep going, but like you can't like how long you can go physically while running a company doesn't matter if mentally you're falling off, if you're slacking. So that's really where it differs, is like you can't make mistakes running a company. Like if you got people that they got to feed their families. Like if you make a massive mental error, that could result in someone's children not being fed. So that's a totally different thing mentally. Obviously you got to know game plan, you got to know matchups, you got to know tendencies of players. Like we used to get a booklet like that big each game to read through, right? But that the pressure of that is not as much as like, okay, well, we want to release this product, we got to figure out how to get there, look at all the steps to getting there and actually releasing it, like that is, and how to make it go well. Like that might be a year thing. Like we just dropped a new rope. It's the new Predator rope. And that was a year and some change, where regularly we're working on that with Samson. So it's like, it's just different. It's, I would say, harder mentally, easier physically.
But it's a good challenge though.
Oh, it's a challenge for sure.
I imagine it would be, yeah. But that's cool though. I mean, I feel like I would take it a lot more serious just because, you're putting your name on the line, and how you refer to your employees, families and shit, like that changes the dynamic a lot, where if you lose a game, at Florida State, it's Florida State that looks bad, not you, so I could see how that could be challenging, but at least you pick a business that you're passionate about, you being an outdoorsman and you selling hunting equipment, like sounds like a dream job to me.
Oh yeah. We got into it so we could hunt more, and I've never hunted this little in my life. Usually I am ghost white because I've just been inside for 18 hours a day, pretty much. I mean, we work pretty much 24/7. Like right now is the most downtime we will have. We like get weekends now occasionally, but during the season from August, like pretty much from like August like 15th roughly to January 10th, it's 7 days a week in between 14 and 18 hours a day. It doesn't end.
Real quick, Jason, if you...
I'm having issues over here. My fucking lights are flickering and shit. It's windy as fuck outside.
Yeah,
it sounded like it was going to storm again.
We do have some storms running through, so I do hope Jason kind of blacks out his screen, because he's just ugly to look at. But, we still love him. But hey, Jason, on a side note, not a sidebar, I will fucking put you in timeout, okay?
Do it. I mean, at this point, the fucking wind's gonna knock my power out anyways, so I'm sure I'll be in the dark regardless.
So how did your for listener, what's the name of your company?
Hang Free.
How did that become about? How did it start? How long have you guys been doing it? Kind of quick rundown of that.
So we're technically going into our 4th year. Since we've been incorporated, our 3rd. But we were selling on eBay and Etsy for a while before that. Just, we kind of wanted to refine things before we kind of made it official, I guess you could say. But basically, we were hunting in North Florida, in Tallahassee, pretty much. And my brother wanted to saddle hunt. He saw some videos on YouTube or whatever it was, and he spent probably 6 months trying to convince me to do it. I was a diehard climber guy, and I just refused. But he was persistent, I will say, and he finally convinced me to do it, and we pretty much haven't looked back. From there, it was like I was like, okay, well, I like this. What else are you making? And he was making a laundry list of Amsteel products at that time, which Amsteel is pretty much our bread and butter. At this time, we have a ton of other stuff. We do rope, we do saddles, we do a lot of stuff, but in terms of Amsteel splicing, we're pretty much the top dog. But I was looking at the market, and when we were first getting into it, it just everything was so unbelievably expensive that because like we were looking for ourselves at first, like we were like, okay, well let's go get some gear, and I'm not gonna I guess name any companies, but there were some prices where we were looking at the materials that they were using, and we're going, okay, like we could make this for 75% less buying at retail. That's not even buying at wholesale, and we can cut that number down. Like, all right, and then we go to the next company. Okay, well, it's the same thing there. Okay, it's the same thing there. And then you add up your whole bill, and you're looking at a paycheck or two. For a large majority of Americans, you're looking at a paycheck to get into it. So we're just like, we can do it better. We can make the same or better quality gear and sell it at a fair price and let people get into it. At the end of the day, our whole thing, like if you look up our website, you're going to see we make quality gear so that everybody can saddle hunt. If you call in and you ask us, well, what's going to work for me, blah, blah, blah. If we think something's going to work better for you from a different company, we'll send you over to them. Even if they're our direct competitor, we don't care. Like our whole thing is like, we want people to be able to hunt for less. Like, that's the whole goal. Like if the more people hunting, that'll be better for us in the long run anyway. So that's how we started, and we just kept that kind of those ideals, and here we are.
What is the most expensive part of the saddle? Because it does, like, I've never hunted from one, but like I've just kind of seen them pop up when I'm shopping. And I was always kind of taken back at the prices, like what you said. It just seems to me like something with metal, something that's machined. It makes more sense that would cost more money. But like my hang-on is cheaper than a saddle. Like where like what costs so much to run a saddle?
Yeah, no,
I'm very green to it. Like I don't
yeah,
really know
no, for
anything
sure.
about it.
That's a really good question, because I think a lot of, especially us, when we were first looking at it, we were going, man, like what in the world? Like $400 or $500 or $300. I mean, right now we sell our saddle for $250 for our XL and large, and then for our medium, I think $225, and our kids is $199. That is about as low as we can go. The reason for that is, one, the materials. Every company uses kind of different materials, and we have a little bit of crossover here and there, but for the most part, like our fabric is a specialty fabric, so it's waterproof, yet still breathable. It's regenerative, so if you poke a hole through it, you can rub it out, and then there will be no hole, and it'll still be water resistant, that type of stuff. So like that, like sourcing all that is expensive, but for the large majority of the cost is the time involved with manufacturing it. Okay. There are a million little tiny intricate details that you have to do absolutely perfectly, or you just got to toss it. So if you mess up one little piece of it, it's gone. You're done. You can't sell it. So I mean, I've sewn thousands of saddles, and I've sewn hundreds of them that we've just had to toss because there's one little mistake. So then you take that, and then you add in the cost of the machinery, and then you start seeing where that's all starts adding up. We got a machine that costs $20,000, right? So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So like if the average person can sew a saddle. If you want to sew a saddle, you can sew a saddle, but can you sew a saddle that you can do it overnight? You can sew hundreds of them, thousands of them, and then they'll hold up for 5 years. It's going to be very, very hard on a home machine. but you can buy one of our saddles, and if you don't want to change it, you don't have to. It's going to hold up. We use a thread it feels like a darn rope in your hands because it's so thick. So then you got to get a deal with a thread company, and then you have to buy a certain amount of thread every year. So there's a bunch of different things. But to answer your question in a, I guess, short answer is the labor involved. It's
Okay.
quite a tedious process.
It makes sense just with the safety and the liability, that there's probably a lot more checks and balances with something like that, like a car seat for a kid. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's got to be perfect just because of what it's doing.
Yep.
It's people are trusting their life with it. So, it makes sense.
Exactly. Some stuff is you can kind of liken it to like almost like the jewelry industry in some ways, where if you could have the most perfect diamond in the entire world, but if it's got a $10 price tag on it, people aren't going to want it.
Yeah.
So there is a line. If you go too low, it's seen as cheap. So like we're trying to offer things like with 99.9% of our stuff, saddles, for example, we price them basically as cheap as we possibly can. But if that number was $150, then I think,
there'd be too big of a gap with the competitors.
Exactly. We are at a number that we're happy with and that we feel is fair to the customer and fair to us. We didn't purposefully get there. We just kind of, fell into that number. But, if you're looking at, you're going to get what you pay for sure. If you're looking at like a Amazon saddle, if you're holding our saddle and you sit in our saddle and you hold that saddle and you sit in that saddle, you're going to know the difference. And then if you look at it from a year from when you buy it, you're going to notice a bigger difference. And then 2 years, it's going to be huge. In 3 years, I'd say probably don't use that saddle you bought on Amazon.
Okay.
But with ours, I'd say it's good to go. Maybe you got to switch out the bridge, but $30, you're good to go. You can keep going.
And with you being a D1 basketball player, I imagine you're well over 6 foot, right?
I am 6'8".
Okay. So,
I'm a midget, man.
Yeah. So you wear your products, right? Or like you hunt in your products?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like that right there speaks a lot too, that a bigger dude can use it too. So I mean,
we've got customers that are over 400 pounds. We have customers that are under 50.
Okay.
Like we got people that have like really young children that they're not even taking them hunting yet. But what we have a lot of is parents that want their kid wants to do it, 4, 5, 6 years old, that just wants to hang out. So then they'll just put them in a saddle on the ground basically, and have like an old platform or a little small platform. They'll just put it basically right on the ground, and their kid will just sit there with them and hang out while they practice, like in their backyard or whatever it is.
That's
cool. That's kind of cool.
That's a good way to get them acclimated.
We didn't even like plan on that. We just we wanted to offer a kid saddle. We had a lot of friends that wanted to take their kids, or customers that were asking us about it. But then once we started selling them, we had a ton of feedback on that's what people were doing. So it's great to see, really.
Yeah. Can you break down the components of a saddle? Because I've never sat in a saddle, so I don't really know a whole bunch about saddle hunting. Can you kind of break those down?
So generally speaking, you're gonna have the main body. Think about it like a football shape. That's kind of you got the webbing and the fabric.
Yeah.
That's gonna be your baseline. Every saddle's kind of different on like from there. Pretty much the baseline for every saddle is a webbing around the outside and a fabric on the inside. It could be a mesh, it could be a Cordura, it could be like a region fabric like ours, but generally speaking, fabric and a webbing. And then you're gonna have most of the time you're gonna have your outermost loops are gonna just be your bridge loops. So that's what your bridge goes into. So that's what you actually connect to the tree with. And then there's going to be again, generally a smaller set of loops. That'll be your lineman's belt loops. So you can have your bridge connected and your tether in a bag, and then throw your lineman's belt around the tree, hook into those smaller loops on the sides, work your way up, and then put your tether around the tree, clip into your bridge, which is on those outermost loops, and then take your lineman's belt off and you're good to go. And then most saddles will have some kind of molly webbing on the top and bottom, where you can clip in things like molly webbing clips, or one of our most popular products is gear zips. You can just girth hitch them on. They're made out of AM steel. It's super easy to cinch your gear. So people like holding gear like that, or people put bags on them. Pretty much, that's basically the general synopsis of like what the components of a saddle. Pretty much.
And when you got into hunting from a saddle, how long do you think it took you with practice to where you felt comfortable shooting? Because I imagine it's way different shooting your bow from like that canted position. Like, how long did it take you before you felt comfortable hunting out of one?
That's a very good question.
Or did you just kind of hit the ground running and just go out there and wing it?
Well, I think I took maybe 10 shots out of a saddle for the first time I went and actually hunted, before I got really good at it. I'd say maybe 4 to 5 hours of really practicing, but that was mostly going to be strong side shots. So looking over, I shoot with my right hand, is my trigger hand. So mostly over my left shoulder sides is the most comfortable. Over time, I've worked on those weak side shots and kind of around the tree, fully turning, things like that. That's kind of in my opinion, a separate thing. But let's say you're setting up just for like, you expect the deer to come in on your strong side, if you're right-handed, your left side. I would say before I was really precise, I would say 4 or 5 hours of practice. But I was mixing in climbing at the same time. So like when I first started, I would practice climbing up, getting set, getting all my gear set up, and then shooting 1, 2, 3 times. And then I would get down and I'd do it again. Because in my opinion, whenever you're going out, you're going to be more sweaty. You're going to be more tired. You're going to be more winded than you expect to be, or than you will be if you're practicing. So I wanted to practice like it was reality. Yeah. So I wanted to be tired. I wanted to be sweating my balls off. I wanted to be, I wanted to be basically have the sun just like right in my face. Like I wanted to make it hard where it was a real life scenario, so that when that real life scenario did happen, then I could execute. If you're just going to be sitting in a saddle and, you sit there for an hour and you just shoot arrow after arrow, that you'll get better for sure. But if you're not adding in the actual climbing, because like you might walk out, for an hour, you might be trudging through the woods 2 hours, depending on, it could be a really long time where you're exhausted at that point. If you're going to a real tough place to get to, you might be really winded by the time you get there. Then you got to climb, then you got to set all your gear. And then let's say 10 minutes later, a buck walks out. Well, have you practiced that? Like, to me, like I know I can shoot, just after just standing around, but can I shoot under duress? Can I shoot after lugging all the stuff out? Can I shoot after climbing and, I dropped something? Well, let me go back down there and get it. And now I got to climb back up. Well, there's a buck. Can I execute? So that's how I practice. So I would say 4 or 5 hours when I first started. But if we're talking about 360 shooting, getting really, 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 really good at it, where you don't have another thought in your mind, I would say 10 or 12 probably. And that's like real practice hours. That's not just, like kind of dicking around. Like that's really, that's practice.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like kind of, because I know a lot of people have been getting in the saddle hunting and doing that more and more. Here in Michigan, in the hunting season, it's cooler. In Florida, It's probably hot as shit down there.
We got to go once this year. It was 98. So
That's just fucking insane to go out
I'd
there.
probably sit that one out.
Yeah.
you get used to it.
What's it like to kind of be trudging with all that gear on and climbing up a tree, and then I'm assuming at that point you're sweaty as crap. You're just sweat all the way around. What's it like to kind of hunt in that type of scenario?
I would say that's where saddle hunting really shines, is the terrain and the walking out aspect. If it's really hot, I'm just gonna strictly saddle hunt. I'll use a platform. If I don't know where I'm going, I'll use just a platform. If I don't know the terrain and I don't know how deep I need to go, I'll use just a small platform. I'll just strictly saddle hunt. If I know I'm going deep, I'll strictly saddle hunt. And that is because it is so much lighter than carrying a stand.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Over the course of, if I'm going to all day sit, I would prefer to do some type of hybrid hunting. But I'm not going to. The age old problem of carrying a stand out is that you get halfway to where you want to be and you go, screw it, I'm throwing this set up because I'm tired, right? That everybody's experienced that at some point, and I personally don't want that to happen. I want to get to where I want to be. So having a small super light platform, 3 sticks, and wearing a saddle, like our saddle weighs less than a pound. So like fully loaded, that's with the bridge included. So that I can really get out to where I want to go. Right. But I just think that's where it really gets a step above any other kind of method. But like if I know where I'm going, and I know what tree I'm hunting, or I know the terrain, and let's say I know I only need to go like 1,000 yards, 500 yards, 750 yards, something like that, and I know I can get there relatively easily, I'll carry a stand and I'll still wear a saddle. So I'll just hybrid hunt where I get the best of both worlds. I get all that space on my stand. I get to sit down occasionally if I get slightly uncomfortable, and then for the most part, I can just stand up and lean. So it's really, I think that it's a tool at the end of the day, which I know before the show we were kind of talking about a little bit, but I think you can't think of saddle hunting or any hunting as the only way. If you do that, you're only limiting yourself. And I think especially bow hunting, you're fighting a losing battle, right? You're fighting a battle in which the enemy, being the deer, is far better than you, far better than you could ever be. They can smell you farther than you can shoot. They can hear you farther than you can shoot. And their only job in life is to stay alive. That's all they do. So they're really good at it. So you have to be at the top of your game. So why would you only stick to one area? You know what I mean? So like, if you got to be able to mix and match to give yourself just a slight advantage, in my opinion.
Definitely. I feel like for people who hunt mobile, I feel like a saddle is a game changer. I mean, yeah, I've pretty much only hunted private, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm getting comfortable. I've moved my stand several times now to where I'm getting comfortable. And I feel efficient to where I can go and set it up quickly. But I feel like having a saddle would just make it would just make the hunter way more efficient when they're hunting public land, or if they hop around several different areas. It just, for efficiency alone, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, our most popular saddle actually is called the tree stand saddle. It's a hybrid saddle, so it zips up. So it'll be about that big. You can wear it almost like a belt. It's about that tall overall. Once it's unzipped, the whole thing's about that tall, and it's a leaner. So it weighs virtually nothing. And that is our most popular saddle, because people like yourself who have stands, they have sets, they're on private. They're like, well, why do I need it? Right. But it's going to give you the tree stand style is not to sit all day. We're not telling people go out there and sit 8 hours or sit even 4. That's not the point. The point is that when you're sitting and inevitably the deer comes in from behind you, you can now just stand up. You're already clipped in, stand up, lean, and now you got a 360 shot. You get uncomfortable, your back gets a little sore, you get a little bit uncomfortable, stand up and lean for 30 minutes. It's super comfortable. And then
That's what I like. I think that's what appeals to me is pretty much what I do now is if I have like a window where I'm not really seeing any deer, I just do the double take and then I stand up, I fold up my chair, and then I just kind of put my back against the tree for a while. And then I repeat that. But if I have deer around me, I can't do it. So I feel like the saddle would allow me to have a little bit more, flexibility.
No, it'll definitely do that for sure.
I can't remember if you said, so if somebody buys one of your climbing harness kits, that comes with 3 climbing sticks, or is 3 climbing sticks what you recommend is all somebody needs with it?
We don't sell sticks at the moment.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could get basically everything you need from us, except for like sticks and a platform, pretty much. There are plenty of companies doing it at the moment that sell great stuff. We're, I'm not going to say too much, but we got some in the works at the moment. But as far as the gear we have now, it's just a saddle. As far as how many sticks, that's a tough question to answer because you're going to hear a bunch of different answers from a bunch of different people. They're all going to have different opinions on that. I personally, I run 3 sticks with 2 double step 8ers. So I
But
run.
you also can take big steps because of your wingspan and everything. That helps you.
Yeah, it definitely helps, but a 5'10" adult man could get in between 18 and 20 feet with my setup if they're stretching. If they're not, they could get between 16 and 18 relatively easily. So go on.
I was just gonna say one thing that I did notice on your website that I liked, and that I might buy actually. The climbing sticks that I bought last year was a 3-pack. It was like a Hawk Helium or some shit. I like them, but my biggest complaint was I was like, man, I wish I had one more. I was like, I would have preferred to have one more. And I saw that you guys had an accessory that you hook on your bottom step, and it's kind of like a little bit of like a rope step that kind of gives you an extra few feet.
Yeah, so that's like an 8er. Yeah.
Yeah, like the 8er, yeah. See, that thing, I feel like would give me an extra climbing stick, essentially.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
I could
that's
attach
really
that. Yeah, so that's a pretty clever idea. I like that.
Yeah, and to be clear, we didn't come up with that. That's we probably have actually I think we definitely have the widest selection of Vader options on the market, but that wasn't a original idea by any means. But you are correct that we have a lot of people that a lot of customers that are trying to drop a stick. So like my brother runs 2 sticks with 2 triple step 8ers. Like that's all he runs. His if he's not he 1 sticks. But if he's running like a 2 stick set, he'll literally just put a stick on the tree, and then pretty much from there, all he's got to do is put one more on. He's done. I'm basically kind of the same because my top stick I'm putting that at the same height as my platform. So I use that almost as a lever point. So when I'm standing on my platform, if I need to swivel all the way around, I can step out on that right stick and kind of push off of it where I can get behind myself, like get behind me,
Okay.
where I still have an anchor point to the tree right there. There's so many ways to do it that it's kind of hard to say. There's no right way. It's really whatever works for you. What I will say is the Hawk Heliums are boat anchors. They're extremely
Heavy?
heavy.
Yeah,
Yes.
they did
That's
seem
no
a little.
knock on Hawk. You'll never hear me say an ill word about another company. I just won't do it. None of our company will. That's not really our style, but they are heavy as all get out. So if you're looking to be mobile, that's probably not the best option in terms of a solid stick, solid, well built stick. The Hawks are great. But if you're looking to be mobile, I'd say, maybe use those for a set that you're leaving and go with something like the XOP X2s. Those are very popular, super affordable. I want to say like $179 for 4 of them. So if you're working on a budget, or something like Lone Wolf, that's going to run you, quite a bit more money, but they're super solid sticks.
I've heard that brand. I've heard that they're one of the higher end ones.
Yeah, so I want to say one of their owners is the inventor of the hang-on tree stand.
Okay.
I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, they make some good stuff over there, some really solid stuff. They make stands, they make everything. But yeah, I definitely check out maybe a lighter option, and we got all the products to make it quick and easy. So you don't have to buy it; just shoot me an email. I'll send it over.
Okay. Well, definitely. Yeah, you're definitely a good person. Like, if I were to buy a saddle, like I would ask for tips on how to even set it up. Like, that's how green I am.
Oh, it's don't let that stop you from doing it, because we have customers that are in their late 70s that are just now getting into it, and they call in and they say, look, I have never even thought about this once. In fact, I wasn't even looking up your company. You guys just came up, and I'm seeing information that I've never even heard of, but I'm interested. Tell me about it. And they end up saddle hunting. So it's never too late, and it's never going to be too hard to do. If you have 2 brain cells that you can knock together, you can saddle hunt. Now,
I think I got at least.
Are you going to be good at it?
Mhm.
That's really going to be dependent on yourself. Are you willing to get out there and practice? Are you willing to spend the time? It's just like anything else. Like, literally anything else you've ever picked up in your life. If you spend time and you try to get good at it, you'll probably get good at it. If you leave it in your shed for a year, and late season next year, you're like, oh, I'll give it a go, and you try to go out there your first day and do it, it's going to be a hell of a time. It's going to suck, and you're going to go, why am I doing this? But if you just put in a little bit of time and an effort, you'll realize it's an incredibly versatile tool to use.
Well, hell yeah. That's like I've said many times, that's one of my favorite parts of this show. We meet so many different people, and a lot of people have been, giving us a lot of cool ideas, and it's almost overwhelming how many options you have as a hunter these days.
No kidding.
Yeah. Because I don't know if I told you, Wyatt, but I'm pretty new to hunting. Like, I've only been hunting for 2 years now, so all of this is still pretty new to me. So I'm still at that point where I'm trying to stick to what I've been trained with before I step outside of my comfort zone a little bit. But eventually I'm going to be forced to. And I don't know. Something about the saddle has definitely been appealing to me. So I think before it's all said and done, I'll be getting one soon.
Yeah, I think getting good at the basics is important. Being comfortable in a tree. A lot of people just aren't comfortable in a tree. But I think that once you find yourself comfortable in a tree, that's a different time frame for everyone. But once you're at that point where you're saying, okay, I'm good, like, I feel solid, in my opinion, like, at least how I am, I'm immediately trying to diversify. Why stay? Like, I know, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I get that. but eventually you're going to run into a situation where you're going to go, gosh, I wish I had that option. Right. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I was a diehard climber guy. Like I love the climber, but when I really was convinced was I was hunting this one buck and I got stuck on him and I really wanted to kill him. And the only place where I had a shot, there was a tree that I couldn't climb with a climber. And I said, all right, well, it's time to give it a go. And then next thing you know, I'm trying to learn how to use a saddle and do the whole process when I really needed to be hunting. So in my opinion, as soon as you feel comfortable going up and down a tree, that for me, that's when I would immediately start learning new things and getting better at new things. And
Okay.
then, I'm not going to sit here and say, don't have a set and go climb up your set and sit there and kill deer. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you say, okay, I have this set, but man, I want to go to this new place. I don't really want to have to go pick that up and then go there. Well, I got the saddle and some sticks and a platform in the back. It weighs 6-7 pounds. I can just grab this and go, and then you don't have to worry about anything else. Well, now you have that option. You know,
Yep.
you don't want to be like, oh, I have the saddle, but I haven't practiced. You know what I mean? So like I personally just I still use a climber. If there's a perfect tree for a climber, I use a climber all day. I'll still wear a saddle because I can still lean, because it's super comfortable at the end of the day, but I'll still use it. Like you can get to any height you want. You got a nice seat, comfortable. Shoot, I can grill a steak out there. It's easy, but that it's not a knock on anything. Like I never want to put down one style and raise up another when those could be interchangeable depending on situation.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, yeah, all the guys that shoot the big bucks and stuff, that's pretty much what they all say is that they're always stepping outside of their comfort zone and they're always looking to get more well-rounded and add more tools to their belt, and it pays off with the big deer. So
One of the most important things that anyone ever told me was a guy in Tallahassee. Basically, Apalachicola is the WMA there. It's 500 and I want to say like 537,000 square acres. It's absolutely massive. There's a local population that hunts there. But it's tough. They can run dogs. It's hard. And he told me, I was kind of talking to him about saddles. It was when we had first started, and he was like, "It doesn't matter what you do if you're not in the tree." He's like, "If you want to kill, but he kills 5 deer a year every year, and that's hard to do on public, and it's all in a bunch of different spots. Kills big bucks in Florida, which is saying something." And he was like, "I've done every method in the book. I've been hunting for 40 years." He's like, "They all work as long as you're in the tree." So at the end of the day, if you're not sitting there ready to shoot, what's the style matter? He probably spends more time in those woods than anybody that I know, and he's successful because he's there. You know what I mean? So like we can sit here and talk style all day, but if we're not out there, what's it matter?
Right. What's the saying go? You can't kill him from your couch.
yep.
Well, well, we kind of reached our time frame for the night. Wyatt, was there a topic or a story that we didn't cover or that you didn't share that you'd love to share before we kind of close out the night?
Put me on the spot here. There's usually, I've been on a couple podcasts here and there, but there's usually a kind of a saying that I say just to remind people, which is perfect practice beats spectacular gear every single time. I usually say that, and I say buy a good knife. Those two things.
That's one thing that I was made aware of this past year. Last year, my first year hunting, my hunting mentors kind of helped me out with the deer that I shot. They pulled out a fucking knife and they're like, "Here you go, do this." This past year, my buck that I shot, it was the first time that I shot a deer and I did everything by myself, alone, from start to finish. And I had this cheesy wedding gift that I got for like being in the wedding party, and it had like my initials on it. And yeah, I struggled. And that was one of the things that I realized was like, damn, I focused on like getting a new bow sight and getting new camo, and I completely overlooked the knife. And yeah, that's a good reminder. Thank you, Wyatt. I need to get a good knife.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gear you have. It doesn't matter how expensive it was. It doesn't matter. None of that matters if you're not executing a perfect style of practice, and that's different for everyone. But your perfect style of practice doesn't matter the gear you have. You're not going to execute. That's just reality. And buy a good knife. You're never going to go, gosh, I wish I had a worse knife.
Yeah.
There's never ever going to be a situation where you're going to be like, oh man, I wish I'd spent less on this knife and got a worse one.
Right.
So other than that, I got nothing else.
Well, thank you for coming on and chatting with us, man. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for giving us a little bit of insight on what it's like to be a business owner in the outdoor industry, which pretty much it doesn't matter what it is in the outdoor industry. It's all really interesting to me. Definitely. I hope that your business continues in the direction that you want it to, and that maybe it results in you and your brother getting a little bit more time in the woods, enjoying, what you guys like doing. But just again, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed it. I think you guys got a really good production going here. So I'll be watching in the future for sure. And hey,
Thank-
shoot me an email, both of you guys. I'll get you guys some gear.
Oh, for
Thanks, Wyatt.
sure,
Really
man. That'd be
appreciate it.
awesome. And everybody, yeah, who watched on tonight, hang free. If you're looking to get into the saddle stuff or, whatever, just give them a look. I enjoyed you sharing your stuff with us, man. And you have a good night.
For sure. Hey, if you're listening, join the rewards program. It's good. Trust me.
Oh, okay.
I set it up.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
have a good one,
Wyatt.
Yeah, I'm going to be checking that website out again.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too, man.
Oh man.
Man, that's cool. I just saw an advertisement for the Mobile Hunters Expo coming.
Oh really?
Yeah. And then when you sent me the schedule for tonight and our guests, as soon as I popped him up and I was checking out his website, I was like, oh, I bet money he's probably going to be rolling through our neck of the woods here. It sounds like it's up in the air for this year, but he
Right.
has been over here before. So it's a small world.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it seems like everyone's getting now into the saddle game, and I think that's something that I really want to get into as well. And it sounds like they're doing great quality work with and selling it at a reasonable price for the average Joe hunter.
I like quality stuff at the middle tier price range. That's kind of the shopper that I've always kind of been.
Same here.
So I like how transparent he is, but also I like the way that he explained that, it's a tool. Like it's one of many ways that you can hunt, and it's a good tool to be familiar with. That's kind of what I want, like the example that he gave where I've got a good setup here and like it's a proven spot, but I'm kind of tracking this one deer and I know that I'm not really going to be able to access with my current setup,
Right.
So having that as an option definitely appeals to me. But like many of the hunting accessories, they all come with a price, and I'm realizing just how expensive this is. So I'm kind of making a list of things that I would like to, add to my tool belt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all takes money. But I was on his website, before our podcast, and they got a lot of cool stuff.
And real quick on the money wise, I don't think if you heard, but I got the Phase 4.
You switched it up?
Yeah. Dang, I didn't call the shop about the other bow. Son of a bitch. I forgot again. I had a dentist appointment. That's why I forgot about it.
So you went back to that shop and you changed your order from the.
Well, when I went up to Holland, we were going up there kind of like on like a little family like trip, I guess. And that was kind of like the destination to go. And I was like, I'm going to try the lift while we're up there. I got wrapped up in it. Then the other day, I think, you were on there. I was like, ever since Sunday, since when we were talking to Scott, I was like, I don't know if I really want to be caught up with that lift. So the other day, I went on my lunch break, sped right down to my home shop. I was like, because I called before and they had the Phase 4 in stock. I was like, I want to come there and shoot it again. Instantly fell in love with it. I was like, smooth draw cycle, the smoothest I've had in a while. And it was just enough weight to it to be light, but also a little mass to it as well, like Scott said. And yep, I put my order in for it. I even put a down payment on it. That's how much pretty much everything's already in the store. They just have to get the other stuff in stock.
Well, heck yeah. Hopefully you don't lose out on any of your deposit in Holland.
I never put anything down on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so basically just me calling them saying, we're going to cancel that order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, heck yeah, man. I'm glad that worked out for you.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, I just kept drawing, but thinking back to it, is like, man, that draw cycle, it's smooth in its own way, but it's rough. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
if a lot of people are complaining about that with the bow, their next offering that they come out with will probably be the one to get, because they're probably going to, tune and kind of fix some of those areas, and then the next thing that they bring to the table will probably be a better product. But
it's not that. I think it's more of they went after light and speed, and like I said, is they achieved it. But if they've always strived to have a smooth draw cycle. But my opinion is when they went for the speed, they lost the smooth draw cycle. You can't have one or the other, because they want the limbs are on the cams are on top of the limbs, and because they want so much speed wrapped up into those cams, you're gonna, like Scott said, you're basically gonna have that huge dump off right there on the back wall. So that's where you're getting all that speed, because you're kicking in right there. It's one or the other, basically, in my opinion. You can't get it all into one bow of a smooth draw cycle like you would with the Phase 4 type of bow. But that's a whole conversation we can get into another show about.
Well, either way, man, I'm glad that it worked out for you. And another good week out of state in Florida.
Yeah.
We had a really diverse week with our guests. So or not Florida, my
Georgia.
bad, Georgia. I got confused because Wyatt is from Florida, but
Yeah.
either way, another good week. So thanks again for having me on, man.
Oh, you're part of the show, brother. But
Either way, it's just because I always feel, like I should say that just because we're not in the same spot. You know what I mean?
yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
It
But
kind of looks like it, but
yeah, I know. It looks like we're kind of just sitting in the same room together.
yeah.
But I think with that being said, let's go enjoy a good weekend. Come back. Wait, what's next week? Idaho.
Ooh. Oh yeah. So we have a
Next
big
week.
guest. Yeah, we got a big guest for Idaho.
Oh, we got a couple.
Yeah.
Next week is a good week. Right now, we don't have a guest for Wednesday. So I'm going to start that off now. Next week, right now, we're only scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for guests. Wednesday, our guest slot is still open. So we can do whatever we want for that show right now. But next week is going to be a fun show. A fun week, I mean.
Well, hell yeah, man. You have a good
So-
weekend.
You too. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.